Imagine waking up to a world blanketed in fresh, untouched snow. It's quiet, peaceful, and everything seems magical. That's exactly what the Thompson family thought one chilly winter morning. But their ordinary snow day was about to become the most extraordinary day of their lives. It all started with their golden retriever, Buster. He was scratching at the back door, whining and barking in a way they'd never heard before. Mr. Thompson, a bit grumpy from being woken up so early, opened the door to let him out. But Buster didn't just run out to do his business. He started frantically sniffing a set of strange tracks in the snow. These weren't animal tracks they recognized. They were large, almost human-like, but much, much bigger than any person's footprint. And strangely, they seemed to lead from the deep woods right up to their back porch, and then just ... stopped. It was as if whatever made them had vanished into thin air. The family gathered around, puzzled. They took pictures, trying to make sense of it. A prank, a weird neighborhood animal. They had no idea. As the day went on, the mystery of the footprints was the main topic of conversation. The kids, Lily and Tom, were convinced it was a monster. Mrs. Thompson thought it was probably just a bear walking in a strange way. Mr. Thompson, a practical man, was trying to find a logical explanation, but even he was stumped. The snow kept falling, slowly covering the evidence of their morning mystery. They figured that was the end of it. They couldn't have been more wrong. That evening, as the family was settling down to watch a movie, they heard a soft tapping sound at the front door. It wasn't the confident knock of a neighbor. It was a gentle, almost timid tap-tap. Mr. Thompson looked through the peephole, but saw nothing. He opened the door a crack, expecting to see a branch blowing in the wind. But what he saw on his doorstep made his heart stop. There, shivering in the cold, was a small creature, no taller than his 7-year-old son. It was covered in thick, dark brown fur from head to toe. It had big, soulful brown eyes that looked up at him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. It wasn't a bear cub. It wasn't a monkey. It looked exactly like the descriptions of a baby Bigfoot. The creature let out a soft, whimpering sound, clutching a small, worn-out-looking blanket. It looked lost, cold, and desperately in need of help. For a moment, the entire family just stared, completely stunned into silence. This was something out of a legend, a myth, and it was standing right on their welcome mat. Mrs. Thompson was the first to react. Seeing the little creature shivering, her maternal instincts kicked in. "Oh, you poor thing," she whispered, slowly kneeling down. "You must be freezing." She gently coaxed it inside, and to their surprise, it came willingly, looking around their warm living room with wide, innocent eyes. Now, what do you do when a baby Bigfoot shows up at your door? There's no manual for that. The Thompsons were in uncharted territory. They gave it a warm bowl of milk, which it gratefully lapped up. They noticed it had a small, shallow cut on its arm, which Mrs. Thompson carefully cleaned and bandaged. The creature, which they decided to call Snowy for the time being, seemed to understand they were trying to help. Snowy was surprisingly gentle and intelligent. It communicated with soft coos and gestures. It pointed at the pictures the kids had drawn of the footprints, and then pointed at its own feet, making the connection for them. The giant footprints belonged to its parent, who must have been searching for it. The family spent the next 2 days caring for Snowy. They played games, shared food, and learned more about the gentle creature. It loved watching cartoons, was fascinated by the Christmas lights, and would cuddle up with Buster by the fireplace. It was clear that Snowy was just a lost child, missing its family. The Thompsons knew they couldn't keep it forever. As much as they had grown to love their unique house guest, they knew it belonged in the wild with its own kind. On the 3rd day, they decided to act. Bundling up Snowy in a warm blanket, Mr. Thompson carried him back to the edge of the woods where the tracks had first appeared. They waited. The woods were silent and still. After about an hour, just as they were starting to lose hope, they heard a deep, resonant call from the trees. Snowy's ears perked up. He let out an excited, chirping reply, and then, from between the snow-laden pines, a massive figure emerged. It was enormous, at least 8 feet tall, covered in the same dark fur as Snowy. Its eyes, identical to the baby's, were fixed on the small creature in Mr. Thompson's arms. There was no menace, only concern and overwhelming relief. Gently, Mr. Thompson placed Snowy on the ground. The little creature ran toward the larger Bigfoot and was swept up in a massive, loving hug. The big Bigfoot looked at the Thompson family, and for a moment their eyes met. It gave a slow, deliberate nod. It was a gesture of pure, unadulterated gratitude. It was a thank you that transcended language. Then, as silently as they appeared, the 2 figures turned and disappeared back into the deep woods, leaving behind only a fresh set of footprints in the snow, one large, one small, walking side by side. The Thompsons stood there for a long time, watching the spot where they had vanished. Their lives were forever changed. They had been part of something magical, a secret the world wasn't ready for. They never told anyone the full story, but every time it snowed, they would look towards the woods, smile, and remember their little friend, Snowy. They had proof that there's still magic and mystery in the world, sometimes hiding just beyond the edge of our own backyards. What an incredible story, right? It just goes to show that compassion is a universal language, and you never know what wonders lie hidden, just waiting to be discovered. Thanks for joining me on this amazing tale. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories. We'll see you in the next video.